homesteading and networking. You know, homesteading is something that people have been doing literally for centuries. It is not a new concept. Back then, we didn't have all this GMO. We didn't have a lot of challenges, but what we did have in the past was a situation where people literally had to protect themselves and their properties from marauders, from people that would just overhaul, do them harm. And this was just normal life for people back then. And to a certain extent, it's the same way today. It is critical for you to understand that we need other people. I mean, it's just a flat out truth. And that's why it's so important to build healthy relationships. Now, when it comes to homesteading, I would suggest anybody, this is why, purchasing a piece of property is just one aspect of it. Everything is about location, location, location. You know, the age-old statement in real estate, location, location, location. And the reason why it's so important is that you got to be mindful of not only your homestead, does it have water, does it have trees, a certain degree of seclusion, all of those things that, we talk about when it comes to purchasing a homestead. But what's critical as well is the surrounding areas. Who are you surrounded by when it comes to your homestead? Do you know those people? Have you knocked on the door and brung them an apple pie and said, "Hi, this is who I am. This is what I do, and if there's anything that I can do and be of assistance, can I help?" Me personally, I've made a concerted effort, and at this point in time, I know 9 other homesteaders that live around me. Now, what did I just now say? I live around other homesteaders, other people that, as well, when you drive past in front of their property, you see sheep, you see goats, you see cattle, you see cows, you see gardens, you see greenhouses all around in my area. I can walk around in my area and see the same thing. And so that's why it's so important to develop these relationships. But in addition to that, know that you're surrounded by other people that share a basic common bond and understanding. Because like it or not, whether it's community or homestead, you're going to interact with these people in a grid down situation. There's no such thing as going to be where you're just going to be alone, and you're not going to need to interact with these people. Me personally, I know the homesteaders that are around me. I've done business. They've hired me to do work on their land. I know the makeup of their families. I know what their ideas are. I know what their value system is. And it's important to understand this because you're going to want to need to know, as a homesteader, who you're surrounded with. Who could be the possible threats, or who could be the possible challenges in a grid down situation. I mean, it is critical. Some people, you don't live around anybody. You don't live around any homesteaders or anything like that. But if you do, you want to make sure you're getting to know them. I know, situations where, homesteaders are getting into altercations with their neighbors. That is not a good situation. I always want to make sure, first and foremost, that I have a good relationship with the people that are surrounding me. I'll give you a perfect example of the reason why that's so important. This happened a couple of years ago, many years ago, but I was going off to work, right? And sometimes my daughter would walk up the driveway, right? She'd walk up the driveway and she'd see me off, right? But this particular time, my daughter, my youngest daughter, decided to start walking up the road on my homestead. So she left the property. Not even talk. I'll give you a conversation or a discussion about what preceded that. What was another situation where, again, I'm telling you, people ain't straight in the mind. They just all jacked up. But neither here nor there. She walked up the block, right? And I'm telling you, she was following my car, okay? And what happened was I get a call from my neighbor saying, I see your daughter in the street. He's standing, he sees my daughter, and he calls me. And he says, I said, what? My daughter's in the street? But why the hell would you? You know how you're totally shocked at somebody saying it doesn't make sense because you're trying to figure out how it could take place. But nonetheless, he was like, yeah, your daughter is, you know what I'm saying, in the street. He immediately called me. He picked her up and he brought her back to the house, right? And, I dealt with the situation there. But what if I didn't have a good relationship with that other homesteader, my neighbor? What could have possibly happened? You get it? These are real life scenarios that I've been able to look at and experience. And I'm telling you, man, I mean, could you imagine, you walk in and your daughter walks off the property and somebody just snatches them because you're not cool or you don't have a relationship with your other people, your neighbors? Know your neighbors. I know at least 9 other homesteaders that surround me. I always hear the gunshots going off. People, range. That's why it's so important to have a situation where you can practice, where you can shoot. They all do pretty much the same thing I do. They can. They have storehouses. They have gardens. We share. I give them excess plants and stuff. They keep animals. They have ponds on their land. I mean, these are the kind of situations where you'll be able to network with your other homesteaders and offer general assistance and coordination. I mean, we've gone so far to plan, how do we cut off this road? Because it's easy, especially out in a rural piece of area, it's pretty much easy to cut off or to block off certain sections so that nobody can come in and go out. In a certain kind of situation where you could block off the end of this road and block off the end of this road and do checkpoints and stuff. Those are the kind of conversations that you need to be having with other homesteaders. I mean, I'm telling you, man, it's just critical. Get to know the people that you're around you and forge good relationships. I would suggest that. I'm telling you, man, I can't stress that enough. Forge relationships with other people because we're in a time where, damn, you know what I'm saying? You can't trust anybody. Could you imagine you can't trust, you're in a community and you can't trust the head of the person that you've entrusted your very life and the lives of your children? That person ends up to be a damn snake. I mean, I'm telling you, man, it's sad out here. Know your neighbor, develop good relationships with them, share ideas and communication tactics to where if something happens, that you can share ideas, resources. I'm telling you, man, these things are critical when it comes to homesteading. I've done it. I suggest you continue and do it too. Shalom.